So, welcome back to another episode of the Half and Half Scarf Football Podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. This is episode 11 already, and because we're on the interminable first international break, which has come at such an inconvenient time for probably all clubs. Some clubs might want it because they're in a bit of bad form. I'm a Middlesbrough fan and we've won 4 out of 4, and suddenly half your team's gone off on international duty, and your momentum's stopped and you've got to wait 2 weeks to play your next game. And but we thought we'd reflect so far. It's 4 weeks in the championship and 4 weeks and 5 games in the League One and Two. It's probably the same in Scotland, but 3 games in the Premier League. So there's a fair bit to talk about, and we're going to just give us our views on what we've seen in the early season so far. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back, as ever, my co-host and mate, Dom. Dom, welcome back to episode 11.
Good to be here, mate. Yeah, episode 11. I can't believe we're actually hit 11. But yes, excited to talk about this one. This is going to be. There's too much to talk about. There's far too much. It almost needs 2 or 3 pods because I think we're going to be a bit ranty today, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. We have got a lot to talk about and probably quite passionate about all the things we are going to talk about as well. So it's a good pod, this.
But before we start, for those who watch on YouTube, we always have a football shirt conversation. I'm wearing the current home shirt for Middlesbrough in honour of being top of the championship. 4 games played, 4 games won. Only us and Liverpool have got a 100% record in the 4 divisions of the Football League and Championship and the Premier League. And I've been at all 4 games, and we have been nothing short of absolutely sensational and solid in all games. So I'm wearing my Boris shirt with pride, top of the league. I've got a bit of a nosebleed because we're not normally there this early. We're a bit of a slow starter. And Dom, you're wearing a bit of merch.
Well, I am. I'm wearing some half and half merch. I just thought I'd go all in. So I'm kind of clashing with my mic now, sadly, everyone. But, I thought I'd go all in. So this is a half and half scarf football podcast shirt. And I will be wearing this we're recording this on the weekend of international break. So I think I'm going to wear this with pride tonight when I go to Bootle. So, see if anyone asks me about it and I can chat away about the half and half scarf. So I thought, yeah, why not wear it? It's pretty decent. I'm loving it. And in relation to your shirt, mate, I do like that. I'm quite liking the Castor Borough kit this year with the Middlesbrough gates in woven in.
Yeah.
And yeah, why not wear it? Wear it with pride. 4 games in, 4 wins, 4. Why not?
Exactly. But for those who are not watching, who are now turning off in droves, as we say every week, if you listen to this, we're going to get into the early season so far. So I've got some bracketed subjects. Some of them are pretty ranty. Some of them go off on a tangent. We've discussed it beforehand. I'm just going to start with the international break is still shit. Let's just start there, okay? The international proper fans hate the international break, particularly those who are match-going fans. It just ruins early momentum. Why do we have to put up with this? Because there's another one in October, another one in November. What does it do to you, Dom, when the international break's on?
I don't like this one. I don't mind the ones so much in October, November. And I know they've got World Cup qualifiers and I know they're important and I get that. But I find this one really frustrating because teams are just getting going. Premier League are 3 games in, Championship are 4 games in. I just don't think it needs to be this early. I never like it. It's the one that I never like, and I always don't like it mainly because I think there's always a risk of it breaking momentum. And I just think when your team, it can work both ways, Nick. I think if you're struggling and your team's got off to a woeful start, sometimes and maybe it's a 2-week reset is a really good thing and a godsend. But right now for Middlesbrough and for Everton too, I'd have quite liked everything to tick along and keep on going because you just get into the season. I think the only caveat to that is I think there has been quite a few World Cup qualifiers played. They have to play them somewhere. If it was just the that Nations League stuff and everything else, I'm like, no, absolutely not. Just stop. You don't need to have a full 2-week break for that, and we just don't need to do it. So, yeah, frustrating. The others I can kind of understand. I never quite like this one because it's just slap bang when the season starts. Everyone's getting back into it, and bang, we stop for 2 weeks.
Okay, well, let's get into observations of the actual what we've seen. I've been to all four games for Middlesbrough, home and away. You've been to how many Everton games you been to? You both
Been
your
to
home
Everton's
games?
home
Yeah,
first home game against Brighton. Been to the League Cup game at Everton against Mansfield, and was up for my first Middlesbrough game with you against Sheffield United last weekend, which
yeah,
was a fabulous game of football.
excellent.
Loved
Okay.
it. Completely different to the Michael Carrick era. So it was a real eye opener and a thoroughly enjoyable day.
Well, I've also watched every highlight on Match of the Day on the Premier League. I've watched the Bundesliga and Serie A highlights, and that's my sort of routine. But let's start with refereeing, okay? Now, I've got a few things. Refereeing standards haven't improved at all this season. In fact, I believe they've got worse. I'll come to it in terms of VAR, but on-field refereeing, I'm sick to death of referees who are now whistle happy. They seem obsessed with stopping the game. It's Simon Hooper just spoils the game. He can't make a decision. He's not alone in that, by the way, but he stops, he blows his whistle, he's not sure, then he's like, for God's sake, just let the game flow. I mentioned on an earlier podcast, the very first game of the season on Sky for the championship was Ipswich were away at Birmingham. And I was really looking forward to that. A team relegated against a team newly promoted who've been splashing the cash. And it was an appalling game of football, not because of the standard of football, although it wasn't great first game. It was just the referee was just appalling. He stop, 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 stop. And it's in every facet of the game. Championship, Premier League, live. I think the Bundesliga and Italian referees seem to be, and it's only from highlights packages, so it's probably not a dead fair exact comparison. Seem to be a bit more, let the game flow, etc. What's your experience of refereeing on the pitch, as it were, making it a non-contact sport? Because that's what we're getting to right now.
Yeah, we are. I think Scott Parker summed it up, didn't he, after the Burnley Man United game? He just said we're not far away soon of it being so ingrained with fans that they just won't celebrate a goal being scored. You'll just have abject silence until VAR comes in and ruins it for everyone when they go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves back, where perhaps the goalkeeper's kicked it out. They'll try and find something wrong with the goal kick.
I want to come back to that separately. The actual refereeing on the pitch, though, the actual game flow, first of all,
Oh,
that's
terrible! Yeah, it's you can definitely see a difference in who's refereeing the match. I think there's a very good. It, the quality of the game is hugely improved by referees that just want to let it flow, even to the point of where you've got some contentious challenges, and they'll just, do you know what? We're not going to get into this. Let's just calm down, everyone. Let the game flow. I'm
mm,
with you. Football is a contact sport. Come on, let's get real, everyone. It's 11v11. You're honestly
mm.
telling me you're not going to touch each other and touch shins, touch feet, catch each other. That Muniz one on Chalabar for Fulham, I actually thought Marco Silva conducted himself really well because you could see how absolutely boiling he was. And it's just ridiculous. And I've watched a few bits on social media and everything else, and people say, well, it's a foul. I've played football. It's a foul. It's a foul all day long. He presses and stamps on his foot because it's a shit bit of skill. And, you can't, you can't do anything. He falls down. It's like, what a load of crap. It's a really good,
Where's he supposed to put his
where's he
foot?
supposed to put his foot? It's a really good bit of skill. Where's he supposed to put his foot? He touches Chalabar's foot. Chalabar, and this is the other problem. In this day and age now, players are literally going down like they've been gunned down.
Mm,
Chalabar goes down like, he's been punched in the face. He
mm.
didn't need to go down. He went down because he was looking for the free kick.
Yeah.
But the move went on from there. Referee ignored it. There was, further passages of play before the goal is scored. And did anyone complain or say there's a foul been committed? Not one. The Chelsea players didn't do it. The Fulham players didn't do it. It was a perfectly acceptable goal. And as far as the referee was concerned, it was an acceptable goal. So why on earth? I mean, have you? it was on Sky this week, mate. Did you listen to it? The VAR footage where they were talking about it, and he goes on about it. Oh, he's impeded him. He's impeded him from being able to defend. He's impeded him. So he's put his foot there. He stamped on him. He can't defend. He can't. Hang on a second. He goes down literally so easily. Of course he can defend. Just get back up and defend. But it goes beyond there. And there's two more passages of play before he scores the goal.
That voiceover piece from VAR was disgraceful. They were actively looking for a reason to
Not to give
exist
it.
and not to give the goal. Here's the other thing with VAR, right? Okay, it's still taking forever. Okay, we've got this
Oh,
sort of,
yeah.
we've got this semi-automated offside, and that's supposed to be better. But again, I'll come on to that. I think there should be, and 90 seconds is too long. Should be a minute, but 90 seconds. If they can't decide with 90 seconds whether it's a yes or a no, it stays with the on-field decision. Because here's the other thing: they're now re-refereeing games, going back 3 or 4 steps, as we've already talked about. The Ahmad penalty versus Burnley, the Fulham disallowed goal versus Chelsea was a disgrace. It's so inconsistent as well because Collins, playing for Brentford, was wrestled to the ground, no penalty, and VAR didn't even intervene. And the weekend before, Calvin Bassey for Fulham on Mason Mount, who also went down. It's exactly the same
Exactly the same.
scenario.
Yeah.
And yet someone in a van in VAR land decided 1 week we'll intervene, another week we won't. So the inconsistency is there. But once a referee goes to the screen, grow a pair of balls. Grow a pair of balls and say, I'm refereeing this game. This is my game, my 90 minutes, my piece of grass, and I've made a decision. And I don't think, despite you sitting in your bloody van in Stockley Park, that I'm going to go with your recommendation because you know what? I think I'm right. But they never do. It's
They
inevitable.
don't.
They go to that bloody screen. It's inevitable that they are going to change their mind.
I agree. I
And
agree, and I just don't see it, Nick. And I also think you should give them every bit of footage. Classic was last season, Man United v Everton, and it was 2-2, and then you've got that pull shirt on Ashley Young.
yeah,
Yes, Ashley Young goes down like he's skydiving out of a plane, which doesn't help. But they only looked at the Maguire one. They didn't look at the Delip actually pulling his shirt back twice.
mm,
It's worse than the one on Ahmad at the weekend for Man
yeah,
United. Worse is VAR didn't even look at it or pick it up or show it to the referee. And then afterwards, you've got they're all coming back and saying, it wasn't a penalty. Of course, it was a penalty. Well, you could say it was soft, but if you, for me, it's not whether you say it is or it isn't, or whether you think you should have had one. What do we always do on this podcast? It's the consistency of the decision.
yeah,
If you're not going to give it, fine. As long as you then implement that, so all the referees then do the same thing in every other game. But you just hit the nail on the head, mate. It's 1 week it'll get given, the next it won't, and
yeah,
that's criminal because it's ruining the game, and it means that it's significant in terms of points awarded, winning a game, drawing a game,
mm.
relegation, not relegation. How is that right? And some of these things now, they're so soft. That Ahmad one was pathetic. It's
Oh,
like, oh my God. So you're honestly telling me he was in a position where he could have got a goal. This is the other thing with penalties and stuff. Now it's like you get in handball or supposed handballs, it never touches hands. It's literally like pulling of a shirt or anything. And they get given a penalty where they weren't anywhere near a goal scoring opportunity.
yeah,
And yet, and then like the first incident, they're re-refereeing games where there's no foul there, and I've seen people on social media all week. Oh, of course it's a foul. It's a foul all day long. It's like, hang on. Every single other referee outside the game, every other professional who's played the game, and sorry, I've forgotten his name again. The guy who runs PGML, what's he
yeah,
called?
yeah, yeah, bald guy. Yeah,
Ex-referee.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's come out and said it was an error. So whether you think personally it was a foul or not,
It wasn't.
they all say it wasn't. So you need to run the game like that. And what I'm really getting frustrated with, Nick, and I think you can hear the passion in my voice in this podcast. I'm getting irate about because it's making my blood boil, VAR at the moment. Is surely we keep saying it time and time again, week after week. Stop refereeing the game, re-refereeing the game.
Mm.
So when are they going to learn? when are the people in VAR are going to sit back and stop and just look at it and thinking, actually, the ref either hasn't seen that, it's not clear and obvious, and actually, is it really going to change the game? Is it really that big a deal to go back?
Yeah.
Did you hear when you hear the way they were talking about that incident
Ah,
on Chalabar? It's like, for God's sake, this is pathetic.
they were desperate. They were
They were
desperate to be
desperate to
relevant.
overrule it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is, no one's contesting, the penalty that was awarded against Fulham because his arms were a bit clunky and a bit away from his side.
Yeah.
Marco Silva graciously said, yeah, that's fine. But he was absolutely right again when he said, well, prior to that, why didn't we get one when it hit the Chelsea player's arm?
Yeah.
I just, you've got lots of people. I've heard people say, "Oh, is everyone getting at Chelsea?" And everyone, it's like, no, it's not everyone getting at Chelsea. It's just let's deal a fair hand in that football match, so it's consistent refereeing,
Hmm.
and let's just stop wrecking the game.
Well,
But
two things I would say to you. I want to finish on VAR because I know it'd be a VAR fest because we could slag it off all day.
mm,
I'd love to see it rescinded. They're not going to do that, right? So I think 90 seconds, stop re-refereeing. You look back at one incident before the goal. The one you can't go back
mm,
any more than one facet of play. But here's another thing. First of all, they never go to the screen and stick to the original decision, which I've mentioned. I think spineless, by the way. I think
it
that's
is.
basically, yeah.
Why have the
I,
screen then? Exactly. Why have the screen?
I think they never overrule Anthony Taylor and Michael Oliver and the more senior referees. Someone in the VAR box rarely says to them, "Oh, I think you might have made an error there," because these guys are more. It's always the younger ones, the more junior ones, the inexperienced ones who get. The Olivers and the bloody Anthony Taylors will be in the box and saying, you should look at it. It's like, oh, I better look at it because he's a more senior man than me. It always goes for the so-called bigger clubs, and I don't care whether people say it evens out over the season. It bloody doesn't. Last season, Wolves got absolutely sawn off to the point of they were getting a PGMOL letter every Monday from Howard Webb's his name, by the way, which I've just remembered. But Howard Webb will send him a letter every week. I think Fulham were getting a basket of fruit last weekend for the fact that it was shit. But that doesn't do him any good at all. It doesn't get him the league points. It doesn't get him the chance of a draw or a win. And instead of making mistakes and apologising for them, here's an idea. Don't make the mistakes in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I totally agree. And one final thing from it, and again, I agree with Marco Silva on this. When Chelsea scored their first, and it was into the 9th minute of added time, and there was 8 minutes of added time, so it was a full minute past.
Yeah,
He went in to speak to the referee after and said, "What was that about?" He said, "You should have the game. The first half should have been finished a minute ago." He said, "Oh, it was an extra minute because you were talking to your players." He wasn't. He said, "At no point in that 8 minutes was I talking to any player." It's absolute daylight robbery. It's like, stop making shit up.
yeah,
Seriously, you're losing the integrity of what the game stands for, and you're losing the value of VAR. VAR's got some really good qualities. It just needs to be used the right way. And
yeah,
I think we said it in a previous pod, mate, with a light touch. It needs to be just, hang on, you've made an absolute howler there.
yeah,
Let's go back. For me, mate, it should be about looking at the whole game as it's being played, and if there's a real stinker of a decision that someone's missed, just saying, "Excuse me, everyone, can you go and have a look at this?" Not individual little nuances. I think again,
no,
Scott Parker summed it up perfectly. And we've touched on this, mate. We're trying to make the game perfect. It's almost like everything has to be perfect. It doesn't at all. It's just wrong.
yeah. Okay. Let's move on from VAR because we could do a whole episode.
Yes.
We've touched on it before. The reason I'm saying this in this episode, the season so far is, we're on episode 11 and the season's on week 3, week 4, week 5, and it just hasn't got any better and it's getting worse. And I've not enjoyed watching the highlights on Match of the Day at all this season because every game's got we talk about VAR, we don't talk about bloody football or pieces of skill or worldies in the top bins and all that kind of thing. There's always a VAR. Right, okay. Let's talk about a few other things. First of all, the transfer window needs to close before a ball is kicked, and the transfer window in England should be aligned with the transfer window in Turkey, Saudi, MLS, whatever it might be. The transfer window we touched on in a previous episode is a joke because it just allows for so much disruption and distraction. This transfer window has peed me off more than anything. Footballers going on strike, that's increasing not just your Wissa and your bloody Isaac, but players at a lower level deciding that they're going to down tools and that kind of thing. First of all, that's a disgrace. Loyalty is a thing of the past, but the transfer window encourages that because they know here's a thing. I knew, you knew, Stevie Wonder in a coal cellar knew that Isaac was going to end up at Newcastle
Yeah,
on the 2nd of
yeah,
September, and Wissa was going to go end up at
yeah,
Liverpool, sorry, and Wissa was going to end up at Newcastle. We knew that on August the 1st. On August the 31st, it wasn't happening. On September the 2nd, they both happened. And we knew it was going to happen. Just get it done and let's get on with the football. Have a transfer window that opens and shuts the minute the league season starts because it's so distracting and just an absolute buffoonery of a thing to distract from football. Has it
yeah.
annoyed you
It's
this week?
annoyed me. It's annoyed me. We've touched on this before. This has been, and I don't care what anyone says and whether they think we're wrong. This is our show and these are our opinions, mate. And we're knowledgeable football fans and we're allowed our opinion. And we've been around the block a few times and I think it's a valid one. I'm going to put it out there. It's completely orchestrated by the TV broadcasters and Sky. It's an absolute nonsense. It's all generated to just create this hoo ha. And I said it in a previous pod, it's destructive because it does lead to players spitting their dummy. And it's all about this, you know, this cagey sort of routine of, you know, trying to get either the transfer value down or just playing your cards close to your chest. And all of a sudden at the last minute panicking and just paying what the club wanted all along. I've said this before. If you just know where you stand in terms of the window shuts on this day, well before the season starts, so it's going to be all done and dusted a week before. That's it. Or what we've recommended is you just go back to how it was, and you can just, come and go as you please all year round, which would take all of the nonsense out of it completely. It just, it's like Newcastle dithering around all pre-season. Oh, we're going to offer 25 million for Wissa, then 30, then 35. They ended up paying 55 million for it. Just get it done.
Yeah.
Stop fucking around. It's literally ridiculous.
If they'd have sold Isaac early in the window for 120 million, I mean, they got 135 apparently. I don't know what the numbers were in the end. They wanted 150. He went for 135. They'd have got Wissa for 35. Everyone
Yeah,
wins. Just stop.
everyone wins. Yes, Brentford win because they get a lot of money for a player, and he's a good player. Is he worth 55 million quid? Probably
No.
not. But then is Valtemada worth 70 million for Newcastle? Absolutely not. This is the other thing it drives, and we just talked about this in a previous pod. It drives up the value because teams think they've got you over a barrel. Southampton did it to Everton. We went in for Tyler Dibbling several times, and our maximum bid was 32, and they kept coming back and saying no, 50,
Yeah.
50 with add-ons and a huge sell-on clause, and we walked away. Southampton came back to the table 3 weeks later and suddenly said, okay, 35 plus I think it's 5 up to million add-ons up to 40, maybe
Yeah.
it's 8 up to 43 with a sell-on clause, which is more reasonable. And it's,
Yeah.
it's still a lot to pay for a 20-year-old lad, but his potential is huge.
Yeah.
And apparently he acted impeccably, and he's a young kid, but he trained away from the team. But he then came back in and played the first game of the season for Southampton. I don't think he spat his dummy and wanted to train. I think they did it to protect him
Yeah.
because I think he's a young kid and it got to him a bit. But, let's face it, mate, it's all wrong when you think, agents putting in these huge sell-on clauses, players, dictating that they want to do this, and the club said this to me, yada yada yada. I don't really care what a club said to you.
No.
Wissa came out and said, he was trying to make out that his situation was more honourable than Isaac's. It's like, come on, it's not honourable at all. You've
Exactly
basically done
the
the same thing. You've got a club there that's elevated you to a certain level. Yes, you've done your part because you're a good footballer and you've done really well for them, but you're under contract, and you're only in this position because they've given you a platform to do it. And yet, yes, the player does a lot of the good work to get themselves there, but you're under contract to a club who are paying your wages.
Mm.
And he might say, I've had all these, he was coming at it that he thought the club were being tight in terms of they want more than he's reasonably worth. The club's got every right to ask what they want.
Yeah.
And you're still under contract. You signed that contract. So you signed that contract knowing that you're going to play and get paid these wages. So the rest of it is down to the club.
Yeah.
So suck it up, get on with it, and play the game. And the perfect example of that is Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And Isak and Wissa should be ashamed of themselves because he acted so impeccably. Played brilliantly the other night against Villa, scored that goal, wonderful interview afterwards, and thought he got his move, which had been sanctioned by the club at 35 million. What a snip, by the way.
Yeah.
But the club have pulled it because they couldn't get a replacement. Is he complaining? Do you know he might be disappointed? He might be seething, behind the scenes. Nobody knows. My hunch is he probably isn't because he seems like a well-grounded young man. But even if he is, he hasn't aired it in public, and you can guarantee he'll turn up as captain for Crystal Palace next week and do a
Yeah.
brilliant job.
He will. Right. Couple more things on the window. What I've observed this last weekend, the amount of players mysteriously injured on the weekend before the transfer window. Strand Larson at Wolves. What a surprise because he was linked with the move to Newcastle. Wissa, funnily enough, was injured, wasn't available for Brentford, and Martinez at Villa. I'm not being funny. We could do the Martinez saga, left, right, and centre, but Martinez is he's
Just laughable.
he's
Absolutely
been
laughable.
just
Yeah.
a joke.
One
But
word, mate, karma.
yeah, on that one right now, let's talk about who's had a good window. We don't care about the big six. I don't care. Couldn't care less about. This is
No.
not a podcast for you big six followers. They've got their own enough podcasts, their own TV shows, etc. We're going to do one in the Premier League, and it's your club, obviously Everton, and then I'm going to talk to you about 4 or 5 in the Championship. Okay, Everton. I'm just going to use one word, mate. Grealish. You're a happy man, aren't you?
Oh, oh, superb, mate. I mean, I've been saying it for years. I've been boring you for years, and my daughter, I've been boring her senseless about it. I've been saying, Mia keeps coming to me all the time and saying, God, how many times when he was at Villa, you kept saying, what a player, he'd be brilliant for us. We'll never get someone like that. And then last season, I was like, we should go for him. He's not playing. He'd be perfect for us.
Yeah.
Moyes would play him in the right way, give him freedom to play. And when it started to happen, I couldn't believe it. I was like, come on, this has got to happen. The fact that he wanted to come to us and he wanted to play, and Moyes had a big hand in that. But he's been sensational, mate. He's given him the free rein on the left-hand side so he can play on the left, cut it onto his right foot. He's been, people are quite scathing about Jack, and I find it quite appalling, to be honest. You can criticise it. If you want to criticise. You want to be nasty or negative, be negative. I think he comes across as a great human being, wants to play football, and watching him up close, he does the simple things beautifully. So you can see he's a level above. Him and Dewsbury Hall are a level above, and all of a sudden, the brilliant thing is, Ndiaye, who we got last year, is a level above, but he was lost last year because he didn't have the same players at his level. Now you've got Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, and Ndiaye, and it's a brilliant three, and they work so well together. But just that level of quality. So yeah, go on. Sorry, mate.
And 2 of those came in this window, and that's
Two of those came in this window. I mean,
So
Dewsbury Hall, you could argue, is better than Grealish in terms of. I was so excited about him coming in the door as well. I mean, he's done everything I thought he would do and more. Box to box midfielder, pacey, gets stuck in. His knowledge of the game, his reading of and awareness of what's on. He links up really well with Grealish and Ndiaye. The three of them all of a sudden seem to have got this chemistry and this link, and they know what they're doing. But,
okay.
yeah, I think Everton's transfer window overall, it's interesting. I was reading in The Athletic and they were scoring everyone in the Premier League and giving them like an A, B, or a C, or a D. They gave Everton a B, which I thought was a little bit harsh. I probably would have given us an A minus. We could have probably done with some strengthening in depth in defence.
Yeah.
But for the first time in years and years and years, there's something to be excited about at Everton. We've actually gone and got a marquee player and a few other good players, and it's wonderful to see. And we actually are and look like we could be a force. Wolfman just said it last weekend. He actually said in his post-match interview, he said Everton looked like a different beast this season. The score was flattering. We gave away 2 really bad defensive goals. We could have scored more, and we were brilliant to watch.
Okay, so you're happy with yours.
Yeah,
A minus you give. I'm going to talk about a couple of clubs in the championship that I'll tell you my view on Borough. Sometimes keeping what you've got is as important as who you sign. Now, I think Norwich fans are going to be delighted that Josh Sargent's still wearing yellow shirt.
agreed.
That's a great win for them. I don't know who else to sign. They weren't very happy about losing their guy to Ipswich, who's, gone across the great divide. But I think if you're a Norwich fan and you said at the end of this transfer window, we'll still have Josh Sargent in our yellow shirt, that's a good start. Irrespective of what else happens around that, that's one of them. I think Millwall have gone about the business really well. I think they've strengthened quietly in various areas. I think they've done, started off with Josh Coburn from Middlesbrough, and I'm not sure Josh is ever going to be prolific, for example, but they've strengthened in areas that they needed strengthening, and they've kept hold of their sort of jewel in the crown, the guy who plays up front with Josh. And I think Millwall fans will be steadily happy about their transfer window. They're a solid rather than a spectacular club, but I think they've gone about strengthening where they need to strength. I think
Agreed.
Birmingham's.
I think losing Tankanga was a bit of a blow though because he's a good player
He was
and
he
he's
was
probably
good.
the only player against us the other day with Sheffield United who actually played well.
Yeah.
And it's funny that Millwall then lost at the weekend to Wrexham. Wrexham
Mm.
got their first win at Millwall, and you do sometimes wonder is that because defensively he's gone. I hope
Mm.
not because I agree with you. I think Millwall have gone about it the right way.
Yeah. Coming on to Wrexham. Wrexham, I think, obviously record spending. I'm not convinced. I think there's a Wrexham tax, there's a Hollywood tax that I think they've paid way over the odds for some of their players that
They
they've
have,
paid,
yeah.
way, way, way. I'm not going to get into individual players. It's not about that. What I'm saying is if you're Wrexham, well done spending the money. Not really sure you've bought absolute quality, and I'm not sure you haven't bought a retirement home in some cases for some people. Some of their players that they've bought, not sure, and some of them are unproven. I'm not sure Nathan Broadhead's going to score you many goals for Wrexham or anybody else
He's
in the Championship.
I-
10
am glad
million?
you mentioned that name, mate, because he was at Everton and we saw him play a few times and he was always on the periphery. But I've seen him quite a bit and he used to go to quite a few 121 games and watch him with a mate of mine. And I like him. Is he worth 11 million from Ipswich? Absolutely not. He
No.
wasn't. He wasn't. He did okay at Ipswich when they were in um, getting promoted. I think he scored 11 goals, but he didn't do well last season and didn't play very much. And I'm thinking you have definitely paid over the odds. He might come good and do really well there, but I do think a good signing they made was Kiefer Moore. I
Yeah.
think he'll fit in really well there. He's already up and running, so I think they have paid over the odds. But the fact that they're trying and they're trying to bring some championship quality in, I applaud them for that because they recognise that they need to.
I think if you're Wrexham, we mentioned this on an earlier pod, I think, just take 10th, 12th, be happy, be humble. I think they probably think we're Hollywood FC and we want to be top six and whatever, which brings me on to Birmingham. Lots of money spent, not sure about all of the quality of what they've bought, but they're just annoying. But they've spent well in some respects. They bought the guy from Celtic, didn't they? The
Mm.
Japanese guy who looks a
Yeah,
player. Um, but I'm going to bring you on to the winners of the transfer window in the Championship, and it's not because I'm biased, without a shadow of a doubt, of Middlesbrough.
I think I would agree. I sent you a message in the week, mate, didn't I? And it summed up my feelings on it. And I think it's, our head of recruitment is Kieran Scott, who, he's been at the club for a good few years now. And clubs always say, don't they, can sometimes take quite a few windows to get to where you want to be. And Middlesbrough have been recruiting well for years now, but they've also had some setbacks in that they've recruited so well that then people have come in and poached those players. Morgan Rogers, perfect example, a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah,
So sometimes it sets you back, and you're not going to get everyone right. You are going to bring in some that don't quite work, but I do think Middlesbrough accept that. I think they bring in some players very cheaply on the basis of thinking, well, they're not going to be absolute, seasoned, experienced first teamers. We're going to see how they go, and
mm,
if they don't work out, we can move them on. But and they have done that. But their main recruitment on the players they bring in has been absolutely spot on, and they've done it. And I said to you that I actually think we're at that position now where we are where we want to be recruitment
mm.
wise. I think the club is happy at where they're at. I think if you were to ask Rob Edwards, Kieran Scott, Steve Gibson, I think they'd all probably say, yeah, we've done well. They've bought well and sold well. Rav Vandenberg went out 12 million, Finn Hazard went out 12 million. That's given us money to bring in some good players, and we haven't
Yeah,
spent all that. Strelec is a really good signing that's come
yeah.
in. I think getting the likes of Matt Target on loan, just that people don't realise that Matt Target's had a lot of experience in the Prem. That pass for Conway against
Oh,
United, different class, but and that's just the level of where we're at. Strelec will come in and complement Conway really, really well. We've kept Hayden Hackney fantastic.
that was our big win on
Yeah,
deadline day. It's our Josh Sargent moment, that isn't it?
yeah.
Keep
Katie
Hayden
Sene
Hackney.
looks an absolute beast. How fast was he the other day when he came on? But he looks like he's going to be a really interesting. I don't know much about him. I'm not even going to try and pretend that I do. But it was exciting when he came on. I think, wow, he's got a turn of pace. If we can get the ball to him, fabulous.
Yeah,
But I would agree with you. I think the way we've gone about our business, the players who've come in, the backup players that they've brought, we've got a. I was surprised. I think I said to you the other day, mate, didn't I? I was counting. I think we've got a 25-man squad,
mm.
which is a huge squad to work with. But we've got strength in depth, strength on the bench, strength defensively. You know,
We've got cover everywhere, but it's a 46 game season, and last season we played from February with no recognised centre halves. So you've got to
yeah,
have that. You've got to have that cover. I'll be honest with you. Well, when you look at we've got a Norwegian wonder kid, and if you'd have said to me at the start of the transfer window, we'll lose Rav Vandenberg, we'll lose Finn Azaz. We've got four jewels in the crown at the start of the transfer window: Rav
yeah,
Vandenberg, Finn Azaz, Aidan Morris, and Hayden Hackney. Well, we've kept the two who were the best paired midfield in the championship,
yeah,
bar none.
yeah.
Hayden Hackney and Aidan Morris, and we've lost Finn Azaz, and we've replaced Finn Azaz with options. Now we're not a direct, but options. Plenty of people
Options. That's the
can
key
play where
word, isn't
Finn
it?
Azaz plays, and Rav Vandenberg not being missed at all because we've got cover in there, and we've got Darrell Lenham coming back. We've got I'll be honest with you, Luke Ayling's played out of his skin at right side of
Alfie Jones
ah
and Callum Britton. Wow, just wow.
yeah
Both, but Alfie Jones really. I mean, Hull fans were really complimentary of him, and I read a lot on social media saying you're going to love him. He's brilliant. And
yeah
even Callum Britton, people were saying about Blackburn fans were saying he's a slow burn, but when he's up and running, he's in his prime. You're going to love him,
yeah
and I think he's already shown that at Borough.
he
I
has
mean, I thought that was a really marked difference last week when I was watching him, mate. Callum Britton's always on the front foot, so he defends, but he's off straight away,
yeah
which we missed, doesn't it? Because it also encourages Morgan Whittaker to get forward more. But Alfie Jones just does all the basics. He's just
really well
really well, which is what you need. So
yeah
I think they went into the transfer window that thinking we last season we gave away so many points, particularly from winning positions, that they thought, right, we need to really solidify in defence.
yeah
Luke Ayling all of a sudden looks so much more comfortable. He
yeah
looks like a new player. Dale Fry, captain.
yeah
Sometimes it's lovely when you players you've already had, the players you bring in around them make them look like new players. And then Aidan Morris and Hayden Hackney. Hayden looks like he's loving playing football, got a smile on his face. Aidan Morris, he's just a Rolls Royce of a midfielder, works his backside off. So I think all in, I know we're biased. It's our podcast where we're allowed to be biased.
yeah
What a window. And me and you are long-term level-headed football fans. We know we'll lose games. We're not going to win every single one. But me and you said the other day, we haven't started a season like this since 1994.
mm,
So long may it continue. And as long as we're up there in the mix, if we can be as strong as this 10 games in, this is not a fluke.
yeah.
And I think the way we're playing is not a fluke. We've been solid. We've been tenacious. We've worked hard. And Rob Edwards has also made really good substitutions at the right time.
I think Saul Bryn in goal has only had to make probably two saves in anger in four games.
Agreed.
That is
Agreed.
how solid we've been. But actually, the bit that excites me most is that fluidity in the front third. We've recruited so well for game changers on and off the bench, starters, wherever it might
Yeah.
be. And Rob Edwards, bless him, will make changes at half time if he needs to. He's
Did it
done it
against United,
twice.
didn't he? Again,
Did it?
half time. He's like, it wasn't working. He took Hansen off brought Naipan on. What was he
Took
brought Matt
Sil
Target
he
Matt
took
Target on.
Silvera off because Silvera was
Put Matt Target on, yeah.
getting
And
kicked to
it
shit,
was
wasn't he?
but
So,
Naipan, what I loved about the young lad, even though he's a forward moving player, his defensive work was superb. And I
oh
said to you, didn't I? He was so neat of foot, and I mean that specifically because he was getting little feet in, little niggles, little taps,
yeah,
getting the ball away, and not causing fouls. He was superb. His work ethic. They
yeah.
all seem to be buying into the project and really working hard for Rob Edwards. And if you've got that and you've got a good, skillful, talented squad,
Mm.
that's gold, isn't it? But it's about the ethic and all buying in, and that's what I think excites me more. That there's a confidence about Middlesbrough, and
I'm just gonna read out the list because I've got a list somewhere, and it was the spending in the top seven clubs who spent in the transfer window, and I don't think that the oh here we go. So the spending in the Championship. Ipswich, this is in order. Ipswich, Southampton, Norwich, Wrexham, Middlesbrough, West Brom, Birmingham. I don't think that top seven spenders will be far off some mix of the top six. So there's a
yeah,
direct correlation between what you spend and what you get, but it's really spending it wisely. So moving on from the transfer window, I just want to, because of time, I want to go through some bullet points, right?
yeah,
Just see if you agree or disagree with me. So I'm
okay,
saying it's a bit like kind of Mr. and Mrs. Okay. Sky and Talksport only really care about the top four teams.
yeah. They're obsessed about the big six. I don't care what they'll argue they're not, but they're obsessed about them, and it's just boring.
Yeah. For genuine excitement, the Championship's still the best league in the world because it's not got VAR. It's got crappy refs, but it's got no VAR, and it's the blood and guts is better, and we're not playing too much tippy tappy anymore. I think we've been sold a pup in the Premier League. I've been really bored watching some Premier League football this season because we're all buying into this play out from the back, and then VAR spoils the game anyway. Is the Championship the best league in the world, Dom?
It's not the best league in the world, mate, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think the points you've made are very valid. There's no VAR, which really makes it very liberating and free. Also, it's one of those leagues where disappointingly, we've said it before on previous pods, the ones that come down, the teams that come down are always the ones that are usually the ones that you can tip for going back up.
Mm.
But you've always got a good mix of teams that can make it interesting. And I think this season more than ever, I don't necessarily think Ipswich and Southampton will be that strong in the top six. I'm going to put it out there now. Nothing against Southampton and Ipswich's teams. I'm not getting you. I haven't got a vendetta against you, anyone who's listening. I just don't think you're that strong. I think you're going to struggle this season.
Mm.
So I think this is the first season in a long time where actually there's a good chance that those three teams don't do it. Leicester
Yeah.
have started better than I thought. I thought they were really going to struggle because they were so bad last season. I thought that might be carry on to this season.
Apparently they haven't played that well though, but they got the points.
Got the
So
point.
yeah.
But yeah, the Prem's slightly different, mate. Now they're doing some strange. The Premier League is slightly changing. They're going for big number nines now,
Mm.
and playing to the strengths of the number nines. We also seen that interesting thing where they're kind of like from kickoffs, they're kicking it out almost like in rugby union to get up the pitch and then, have a throw in close in the proximity of the opposition's half. There's lots of weird things coming into Premier League football where it is slightly changing, but
Mm.
yeah, it can be a bit soul destroying. It can be wonderful and soul destroying. I think the Championship is. I quite like the fact that in Championship that you really never know what you're getting week in, week out,
Yeah.
and it's just it's almost like it's bedlam, isn't it? It's just a bedlam 9 months,
Yeah.
46 games, and it's absolutely crazy.
Okay. More things to go, yes or no. Celtic and Rangers are big clubs, we agree on that, but they're nowhere near Premier League standard, either of them. And I think both of them would struggle in the Championship this season, both of them.
Agreed. I mean, Celtic and Rangers fans will deny it and say and fight all day long. They're not, and say, "Oh, we're great in cups." And look at Rangers in the European Cup in the European competitions. Yeah, that's different because it's game by game momentum. You can do well in a European competition because it's an individual game
Yeah.
or games, um, week in week out in the league. Particularly Rangers at the moment. I think they're the players they've signed and recruited. I don't think they'd stand a chance in the Premier. I think they would struggle in the Championship. Absolutely, I agree.
Okay. Early season big games, Liverpool versus Arsenal, often disappointing. Too early in the
Yeah,
season.
totally agree. And Arsenal were doing their classic, which they do, and you might not see this as much on the TV, but Arsenal are notorious for this because they do it all the time at Goodison. They time waste something terrible. They were
Yeah,
doing it the other day, so you know it was. I've chatted to a lot of people. My wife's a Red, and it said the time wasting was appalling. They were
yeah,
playing for a draw, and it's like, oh my god, you've spent 250 million quid.
yeah.
You're Arsenal. You're supposed to be amazing. You keep saying you're amazing. What on earth are you time wasting for? Go for the win. What are you playing for a draw at Anfield for? If you want to win the league, you've got to play home and away
I absolutely thought the other day that they bottled being brave, and I think that's,
completely. They were playing for the draw, and they are terrible time wasters. They're a Goodison, they get pelters for it. They're time waste from first half onwards. And
yeah.
Arteta thinks it's acceptable, and he'll deny that they do it, but it's so blatant. It's really embarrassing. Really
Okay.
embarrassing.
Few more things. Man United are the gift that keeps giving after the Grimsby game. Would you agree with that? That was just such a
Oh,
early
yeah.
season observations. That was my
Yeah.
highlight of the season so far. Nothing to do with Borough, just watching Man United at Grimsby and just all the memes about Amarim with his tactics board. And I saw one where he had the tactics board on and they'd replaced it with the operation game where they're doing it. It was
Yeah,
so funny,
yeah.
and just watch the game with your eyes. You don't need a tactics board. The guy from Grimsby, the manager at Grimsby, stood there and watched the game. And funny enough, his team performed for him. I know there's been some controversy about an unregistered play. He missed registration by a minute and a half, didn't he?
Minutes.
And you know what? He came on for 20 minutes and he missed a penalty. So it didn't really affect the outcome. But Man United, the gift that keeps giving. Do we agree with that?
I do. Yeah. It's I think if you've got a manager that can't even watch his team taking penalties, and he was the same with Bruno Fernandes in that penalty against Burnley. He couldn't even watch. It's like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, have some gumption, mate. Get off your ass, watch the penalty. And yeah, they are and I don't mean it to be malicious or nasty, but it's yeah, they are the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm not convinced, mate. I mean, we've talked about this. I like him Bueno. I think he's a proper player. I actually think Matthias Cunha's got real talent, but he hasn't done it on a prolonged period of time, and he looks like he might be injured as well. But I'm still not convinced with their overall team and how they play and their ethic and what they put into the games. They were terrible against Grimsby, and they weren't that good against Burnley either.
No. Okay. Couple more. Wayne Rooney's robbing a living on Match of the Day. I know you're a Rooney fan because of his Everton connections and as a footballer. Wayne Rooney's been on Match of the Day twice now. Absolutely appalling. £800,000 a year he's getting paid. Guy can't string a sentence together. Wayne Rooney's robbing a living. Yes or no? That's all. Just yes or no.
Yes,
Okay, moving on because I know I don't want to get into the controversy of it, whatever. I've got here. How does Ronan Kemp get a job on Sky Sports? Okay, Ronan, is it Ronan Kemp? Bloody
Roman.
Roman Kemp. I don't even know who he is, right? He's nothing to do with football. He's an Arsenal fan who happens to be a radio DJ. He was doing transfer deadline day. Roman Kemp, really? You might as well have Paddy McGuinness and we'll all close down, won't we, really? You know what I mean? What's that about? Roman Kemp on Sky Sports. I don't want to hear Roman Kemp on Sky Sports.
Do you know what? He seems like a really likable guy. To be honest, he's done a couple of really good documentaries that I really like on BBC. He seems like a really nice guy. For me, on Sky, he's as credible as anybody else. In fact, and do you know what? They've brought him in because I think he is well liked and he is well known, and I think he's better than a lot of the people that they have on there. So um,
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I quite like him, and he is a passionate football fan. So why not? Why
Okay.
not?
And he's not Jim White with a yellow tie, is he? So we'll give.
Exactly, more refreshing on that front, I think. Do you know what? I think even though he's an Arsenal fan, I think he comes across like he's not biased at all. I like him. I
You've
like
come.
him.
You've convinced me, mate. I'll take that one. You're not going to convince me on this one. England squad, Jordan Henderson. Just no. No.
Just wrong. I had this discussion with someone in the week, and again, anyone who's listening who wants to, suddenly jump on us. Not about not liking the guy or he's not a good footballer. I completely agree on all those things he is, but he doesn't play regularly enough, and he's now getting he's ticking on. I'm not saying he's not still a good player, but isn't that demoralising for the talent that we've got in his position that he's first on the you know selection sheet?
Hmm.
So what's all that about, really? I mean, and I'm going to throw one out here, and people will think I'm being biased. Maybe I am. Keenan Dewsbury Hall. He's started the season so well. Why doesn't he get a mention? Why is it? Why is there always a place for? It's like Gareth Southgate with Harry Maguire all the time, and
Yeah,
Calvin Phillips. The For me, playing for England means you're playing really well for your club.
yeah,
I don't think it just means that you go on past experiences all the time. I think it's you people always argue. It's a hard one, mate, for me. It's like is there value in always having people who are good around the squad and have been there and done it? Yeah, maybe, but it's wrong that they're always first there. I like the fact that it should be about if I play really well for my club, I've got a really good chance of getting in that squad. And then you're hungry for it, aren't you? You want to do well, and I
mm.
think a fresh impetus of fresh talent is really good for the England. And I think we need it.
Okay. Couple more things, and that's we're going to finish for the episode. This is things we've observed, right? Can I have your shirts, please? The signs are creeping back. They've disappeared for a little while.
Mm.
I've seen three or four this season. Can I have your shirt? They don't even say please, some of them. Why are they always written on cardboard? Why are they always, if you're going to do a shirt, if you're going to do a can I have your shirt, make an effort, at least do some merch. But the shit signs by entitled children who are encouraged by the parents who should know better. I hate can I have your shirt signs. I would shove those can you have your shirt signs up the parents' arse and say, put please, and actually, what entitles you to ask for a shirt? Buy one from the club shop, you tight bugger. I hate can I have your shirt signs, and they're creeping back. They disappeared for a season. I've seen three or four incidents this season, and it's doing me head in already.
Oh, do you know what? You sound like a right miserable sod there, don't you? I don't think that a lot of the kids I see they don't look entitled. So I'm gonna, me and you always disagree on the odd thing. It would be healthy. It'd be unhealthy if we didn't. So I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of the big placards and everything. But I see a lot of young kids, and particularly Everton being right near the front. You see these young kids, especially when we were in the family enclosure at Goodison, and they really young kids with made a big effort on these placards and stuff. And
Hang on, I'm going to
um,
stop you there. They haven't made a big effort, mate. They've got a crayon and a piece of
oh
old
no, some of them
cardboard. No,
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 some of
no,
them are
no, no,
quite
no, 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 no,
impressive.
no,
Some of them are quite
no.
impressive.
No, I'm going to disagree with you. The ones I hate are the ones that they've just ripped the inside of a Kellogg's cardboard box and written in crayon in shit writing you can hardly read. Can I have your shirt, Jack
Yeah,
Grealish?
no, I've seen some that are either in the language of the player. I've seen some where they've really made an effort. I think and I don't mind that so much. And it's not really about a lot of the time they actually are wearing the shirt. I think they just want the player's shirt and there's something. But fundamentally, it's not so much that bugs me. I don't mind all that. It's just where it's come from in the first place that it's become a thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's a bit bizarre, really, that every week these players give their shirts away. It's like, my God, it's like how many shirts do the manufacturers have to produce for you because you literally every single match they're all gone.
Last thing, last thing. How many times have you seen pictures on social media of someone scoring a great goal or a penalty or whatever, and everyone's behind the goal watching that moment through their phone? Watch with your eyes, live in the moment. It's not about capturing it for social media. Watch the bloody game in the moment. You know how you create a memory? By
Yeah,
being in it, by
in
being
it,
in it, not by
absolutely.
capturing it on a bloody social media. I do sound like a right old fart now, but I saw a picture last week of Man City scoring, and literally the entire sort of crowd behind the goal were all up and on phones. And I will tell you now, most of them didn't look like they're from Manchester, shall we say, tourists and whatever, captured on the phones. Watch with your eyes, put your phone away and watch the bloody game. Memories are created in the moment, not necessarily created just because you want to capture them on social media. There's me rant over for that one.
I agree. I am, and it sounds like we're getting at tourist fans. There's nothing wrong with the odd tour. We've had this, and again, we're all on this in future pods, and we've done it and touched on it in previous pods. The the club, club's obsession with getting tourist fans in. Um, I I agree entirely. Watch the game, live in the moment. If you actually watch it and are not on your phone and concentrating on it being on your, captured on your phone, you soak it up and appreciate it and absorb it more and watch it
Mm.
more and remember it more. I was, me and me were at an Everton game a few seasons ago, and there was a Japanese tourist there. And again, you know, please, people, not having to go anywhere. I was chatting to them, so I know they were a Japanese tourist. I'm not just making presumptions here.
Yeah, yeah.
He was a nice man, but the thing that really disturbed me was he watched the entire game through an iPad. So he was recording the entire game
Wow.
and didn't watch it one on one. He watched it through the iPad. And I didn't comment on it. I didn't judge him for it, but or say anything to him. I kind of am judging him now because I just found the whole thing very odd.
Yeah,
It's like, it's such a shame that it gets to the point where everything has to be recorded or on an iPad, on a phone. It's like, I agree with you. It's like, surely you've paid to watch the event, soak it up. But
yeah.
maybe they haven't. Maybe they're doing it for different reasons.
Wow.
But yeah,
Okay.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I never have my phone out at football. It's always in my
No.
pocket. I watch the whole thing and soak it up. And I enjoy then going home and then watching the highlights and seeing it through different lenses and different angles and
I
seeing if
do.
something I agree was right or not right and just appreciating it in a different way. Yeah.
Okay, slightly weird thing. Every time Middlesbrough are on live game on Sky, I record the entire live game, and the first thing I do when I come back is I watch it at 6 times speed because I want to watch for those incidents that I've missed or
Mm.
not sure. And I'd give you the classic example on Saturday in the ground that tackle by Sidney Peck on Sammy Silvera was a red
Yes.
red card all day long in the ground. And
Yeah.
when you watched it back, it was a red card all day long on TV. But
Yeah.
what you're looking at, and he only got a yellow, didn't he? But you watch. I like to watch the game afterwards, but I'm not watching it through my phone to re-record it and replay it, re-record and replay it. So that's our rant over. Listen, we've had some observations on the season so far. You kept me on the straight and narrow because I know it's very easy for me to get a bit sort of peed off with things, and thank you for doing that. What I would say to you is. I hope that we see some improvements in things over the next between now and the next international window,
I
particularly the
hope so.
likes of VAR and consistency and whistle happy refs, and particularly the things that are spoiling the game. But that's been episode 11. Thanks for your support with that. Episode 12, we're going to be talking about the new stadium experience and the existing stadium fan experience. So things like what's the concourse like, what we're paying for our drinks, what's the new stadium experience. But we're not just going to talk about Everton's new stadium. We're going to talk about clubs that have moved to stadiums in recent years. So you've got your West Hams, you've got your Spurs, you've got your other clubs who are, doing stadium improvements like Wrexham are building a new stand, all that kind of thing. What's the fan experience? So don't forget to like, subscribe, share on all your favourite platforms. Obviously, we're on the likes of Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music and Amazon Music and all that kind of thing, as well as YouTube channel. It's great that we get some great feedback. Please, please, please subscribe so you get your regular episodes on a Monday morning, and please feel free to like and share. That really helps us with the growth of the podcast. So all that remains for me to say is, Dom, thanks for keeping me on the straight and narrow when it came to the rants about what we've seen so far. Thanks for disagreeing with me on a couple because it's not always about what we say that we both agree on. And I will leave you the fact that Wayne Rooney is still robbing a living. But anyway, moving on. Have a great, enjoyable evening. I know you're off to see Bootle
Boothel
FC.
tonight. Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thanks, mate. And yeah, I echo what you just said. Thanks for the support, everyone. It's been brilliant. Feedback we're getting is really positive. I love when people comment and provide stuff that they're interested in, want to comment on or discuss. I love that. If we could do that more, I'm all in for having a discussion and a debate. So yeah, please do. And thanks for the support, everyone. Roll on episode 12.
Excellent. Cheers, mate. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. See you soon. Bye.